Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Same-sex marriage gets the green light in Bermuda again. And that's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, June 6th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Bermuda's Supreme Court on Wednesday ruled in favor of same-sex marriage, making it legal in the country again. Chief Justice Ian Calloway ruled that gay couples should once again be able to marry in Bermuda as he upheld a constitutional challenge against the controversial Domestic Partnership Act, which revoked the right of gay couples to marry and offered them the option of legally recognized civil unions. But the ruling will not take effect immediately. The Chief Justice has granted Attorney General Kathy Lynn Simmons a 6-week stay to allow the government the opportunity to appeal the decision. Bermuda officially legalized same-sex marriage in May last year, but then in February this year, it became the first country in the world to repeal the marriage equality legislation. The repeal officially came into effect just days ago on June 1st. Delivering his judgment before a packed courtroom on Wednesday morning, Justice Cowley said the sections of the act which revoked the right to same-sex marriage were invalid because they were inconsistent with provisions in Bermuda's constitution which give the right to freedom of conscience and creed. The latest civil proceedings in the Supreme Court were brought against the Attorney General by gay Bermudans Rod Ferguson and Mary Ellen Jackson and the charity Out Bermuda. The petitioners claimed the part of the Domestic Partnership Act that reaffirmed that a marriage is void unless the parties are male and female was unconstitutional.
Right thing has been done. We now have to hope that the government recognize that this is the right thing and that this isn't perpetuated out any longer. But, you know, the judgment really with respect to the Chief Justice is one for the ages. I think it'll be looked at across the Commonwealth in case anybody else thinks that they can, you know, interfere with the human rights of individuals and with equality. It really is that level of depth to it with regard to what it addresses, and I just think it's fundamentally the right thing that this has occurred this way in Bermuda, that constitutionally, you know, that the law as stands with regard to the issues on same-sex marriage have been struck down, and as simple as that.
Minister of Home Affairs Walton Brown says the government will be appealing the ruling. He says the government is pleased that the Chief Justice stayed the implementation of decision until an appeal can be submitted. Meanwhile, 3 Barbadians from the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender, the LGBT community, are seeking help from the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in overturning the country's anti-sodomy law. A transgender woman, a lesbian and a gay man will be making a petition before the IACHR. Alexa Hoffman, a 24-year-old transgender woman, says although Barbados was a signatory to international conventions, including the American Convention on Human Rights, buggery laws remain on the books and nothing was being done about them. She said there are 2 areas being challenged. One is Section 9 of the Constitution, which deals with buggery, and the other Section 12 relating to serious indecency. The ultimate goal of the petition is to end the criminalization of consensual sexual activity between persons above the age of consent, in particular the criminalization of consensual sex between same-sex partners, and stop the state-sponsored homophobia they represent. The legal network, along with Trans Advocacy and Agitation Barbados and the University of Toronto's International Human Rights Program, is supporting the petition and providing technical assistance to the petitioners. Staying in Barbados, the Constitution has been amended to allow the swearing-in of 2 new government senators and at least 1 independent senator. As its first order of business, the new parliament on Tuesday sought to address provisions which were discriminatory to Barbadian citizens holding dual citizenship. Prime Minister Mia Mottley led the constitutional amendment in the lower house. She had announced Kay McConney, Minister of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, and Rawdon Adams, son of the late Prime Minister Tom Adams, as 2 government senators in her lineup. While both are Barbadians by birth, McConney also holds Canadian citizenship, while Adams holds French and British citizenship. Under the Constitution, Barbadians who have sworn allegiance to another country are precluded by Sections 38 and 44 of the Constitution from becoming a member of the Senate or the House of Assembly. The Prime Minister says that's a discriminatory provision. Motley says the amendment is an example of her administration's commitment to be fully transparent with the citizens. And she says such constitutional amendments are not uncommon in the Parliament's history.
We are here to correct a discriminatory provision in the Constitution, but equally to facilitate our ability to constitute a full government. I have advised Her Excellency that I will make nominations to the Senate tomorrow of 2 senators on a temporary basis, and I have spoken to Mr. John Williams and Mr. Delisle Bradshaw, who will accept appointments to the Senate for the period of the session to facilitate the debate of this amendment. I will then, after this amendment, should it pass both houses, will then ask them to resign such that we can make the appointments that will allow this government to become whole and that we can continue on the path that we set out with respect to the throne speech and the policies announced therein by Her Excellency the Governor General.
Most Caribbean countries on Tuesday abstained from a vote at the Organization of American States, the OAS, as the hemispheric body approved a resolution calling for an extraordinary assembly to vote on suspending Venezuela from the 34-member group. 19 member states at the General Assembly voted in favor of the resolution, 4 against and 11 abstained. The Bahamas, Barbados, Guyana and Jamaica supported the resolution, while Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines voted against the measure. Belize, Grenada, Haiti, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Suriname and Trinidad and Tobago were among the member states that abstained during the vote. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Arreza said Caracas rejected the OAS Assembly's decision, saying it would enable the United States to continue its economic war against the socialist government of Nicolas Maduro. The resolution was spearheaded by the United States, which has condemned President Maduro's re-election last month. Maduro won the May 20 vote that the Venezuelan opposition, along with Washington and other Latin American countries, have described as a sham. OAS members have expelled only 2 nations in its history. Cuba was forced out in 1962 and Honduras was suspended briefly following a 2009 military coup. The ban on Cuba was lifted in 2009, but the island country rejected rejoining the organization. President Maduro has already described the OAS as a pawn of U.S. foreign policy, and last year his government said it had started the 2-year process to pull out of the organization. Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt supports the use of marijuana for religious and medicinal purposes. He outlined his position on Tuesday night, less than a week after a senior member of his cabinet called on Dominicans to begin a debate on the decriminalization issue. Speaking on a local radio program, Skerritt said that despite his views, discussions must be held with local and international stakeholders before any legislation is taken to Parliament.
There are many people in this country who have proclaimed that marijuana oil is helping them fight cancer and to treat with issues relating to the suffering from cancer. And I believe that the country, the citizens of Dominica, need to seriously engage on this matter of marijuana for medicinal purposes, to explore the medicinal benefits of marijuana. But you cannot just take a decision and leave it like that. There are a number of other aspects one has to consider. The issue of how do you grow it, under what conditions do you grow it, the issue of licenses, some say, the issue of permits. Where can you buy it? Who can sell it? Who can grow it? There are a number of things in terms of legislation and regulation that you would have to look at. And I believe, myself personally, from a philosophical standpoint, I believe that we need to allow people who are registered as Rastafarians in certain localities, certain areas, for where they practice a religion, to be allowed to use this for religious purposes.
Skerritt says the country must also be mindful that many people, especially the youth, must be protected from the abuse of any substance.
People may be able to smoke 5 spliff and be standing. There are some people, if they smell the stuff, may have a difficulty if they smoke it. So we have to be able to ensure that our young people are not exposed to the abuse of this.
And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, PAHO to investigate concerns about mercury emissions at the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.
It starts from sunrise, a city filled with an island vibe, music, people, color, friendship, culture, and the warmest of smiles. Come enjoy the unique costumes, pulsating steel pans, exotic culture, exciting fetes, and unforgettable people. Discover Antigua's Carnival, the Caribbean's greatest summer festival, July 27th to August 8th, because the beach really is just the beginning.
Do you wish to combine a vacation with pure laughter? Then St. Martin is the place to be on June 22nd and 23rd for the 14th annual edition of its comedy festival, Laugh Till Belly Burst, with comedians from all over the world. Book hotel and show tickets until June 20th now at www.ltbbsxm.com.
A team from the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, is expected to arrive in Guyana in a few days to investigate mercury emission at the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission's Brig Dam complex. At a media brief on Tuesday, Public Health Minister Valdo Lawrence said the team will assess the cleanup efforts that were completed last week at the complex after the Guyana Gold Board ceased gold burning in April because of health and safety concerns. The move follows media reports that at least 4 workers from the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission have died following exposure to mercury, claims the authorities have repeatedly denied. The Public Health Board will be conducting a review of pathology reports from those deaths. Lawrence says her ministry would like to see the matter investigated and resolved speedily.
The Ministry of Public Health sees it fit to collaborate with our sister agency to ensure that we can be able to provide guidance on this matter and to provide the technical skills needed for us to investigate, for us to determine the challenges and the gaps which are faced by these agencies and to find solutions for them.
Natural Resources Minister Raphael Trotman says government will spare no effort to ensure the safety of workers and those who come into contact with mercury across the mining industry.
We need the support of the miners. It is not the government, it is not the GGMC or the Guyana Gold Board that use mercury. It is the miners who use mercury, and the people who import mercury illegally to support this trade. And so the President himself is committed to seeing the eradication of mercury and its use in Guyana, and we wish to support that, and we wish the miners to give support as well. So government's position is that no expense will be spared, no effort will be spared, as we said before, to ensure that the well-being of every single worker and everyone who comes into contact with mercury, because there are people in the interior, there are people who do cooking, there are people who do farming, and others who may be affected knowingly or unknowingly. So,
the Caribbean Studies Association is holding its 43rd annual conference under the theme Education, Culture and Emancipatory Thoughts in the Caribbean. And the organizers say integrating these three concepts is fundamental to furthering the process of decolonization in the Caribbean. The Caribbean Studies Association is an independent professional organization devoted to promoting Caribbean studies from a multidisciplinary, multicultural point of view. It is one of the region's most important vehicles for researching, analyzing, and documenting the growing significant presence of populations of Caribbean descent in the United States, Canada, and Europe. This year's conference is being held in Cuba, and Richards of Canal Caraïbe attended the opening, and he filed this report.
Education, culture, and emancipatory thoughts are issues that have attracted the attention of delegates from over 20 countries, assisting to the 43rd Conference of the Caribbean Studies Association, CSA, which is taking place simultaneously in various saloons of the Hotel Trip Havana Libre in Cuba's capital city, and will conclude next Friday, 8th of June. Among the issues debated in this 43rd conference of the CSA outstands the Haitian and Cuban revolutions, climate change, music, and the regional present-day situation. During the sessions of this regional meeting, in addition to the lectures, the program also embraces forums, workshops, expositions, concerts, and book fairs. According to declarations of Yolanda Wood, president of the CSA, hundreds of students, academicians, scientists, and artists have converted this yearly appointment, now in Havana, in the largest participation in the history of the Caribbean Studies Association. The CSA is a unique space in which academicians, intellectuals, public servants, and communal leaders share visions and experiences in a concerted effort to push up the field of the Caribbean world education. The humanistic dimension and its social importance are also part of the Caribbean Studies Association program, aiming to favor dialogue and the exchange of ideas between the Caribbean community, including Central America and the South American Caribbean coast.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies end day one of the first test against Sri Lanka, just shy of 2.5 centuries. The details after the break.
Do you wish to combine a vacation with pure laughter? Then St. Martin is the place to be on June 22nd and 23rd for the 14th annual edition of its comedy festival, Laugh Till Belly Burst, with comedians from all over the world. Book hotel and show tickets until June 20th now at www.ltbbsxm.com.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
West Indies stumbled to reach 246 for 6 at the close of the opening day of the first test against Sri Lanka on Wednesday. Opting to bat first at Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad, West Indies lost opener Craig Brathwaite for 3 in the third over of the morning. Caught at the wicket off-seamer Suranga Lakman with 4 runs on the board. Devon Smith, back for his first test in 3 years, also fell cheaply for 7 after adding 36 for the second wicket with Powell. He was run out after he and Powell attempted a sharp single. Powell and the classy Shea Hope then entertained in a 40-run third wicket stand as West Indies flourished in the second hour. But with a half-century inside, Powell inside edged a drive at pacer and lost his leg stump for 38. At lunch, the hosts were 99 for 3 with Shea Hope unbeaten on 29 and fellow right-hander Ruston Chase on 11. But Hope perished short of a half-century as West Indies lost 2 wickets in the post-lunch session, and Chase and captain Jason Holder perished late in the day. Here are the highlights from the day's final session.
These were able to ride all that. Dowrich was in good nick, and so was the captain. Well, this was the one we were talking about earlier on. There was a nick going down the leg side, and the Sri Lankans will rue it. Why didn't they ask for it? But the West Indian partnership just kicked on and carried on. And there were a few airy-fairy shots, but nothing really went to hand. But the ones that went to hand weren't grabbed. Anything loose, the batsmen were quite willing to go after the bowling. But catches like this needed to stick. Angelo Matthews generally a very safe field, and that was Dowrich. The ball slicing off an outside edge. Well, one would expect him to take it 9 times out of 10. But not to be. Dowrich has been very impressive. The highest score for a West Indian wicketkeeper. That was against Sri Lanka in the West Indies. Did take his time over his innings, and then anything loose, he was quite willing to take this chance. And this is another one. Well, rubber the green, definitely not going Sri Lanka's way. This was Roshan Silva at second slip. Again, another fairly straightforward catch. But I can tell you that this was another decision that had to be reviewed, and this time it went Sri Lanka's way. So finally the wicket the Sri Lankans were searching for was captured courtesy of review. That was the breakthrough the Sri Lankans wanted. Well, the second new ball was taken, but the West Indies did well to survive those final few moments. And 84 overs bowled in the day. Sri Lanka 240, I beg your pardon, West Indies 246 for 6.
Well, speaking to reporters the day before the match, Wendy's captain Jason Holder said the importance of winning the Sri Lanka series and moving up in the ICC Test rankings has not been lost on his side. Last month, West Indies slumped to an historic low of 9th in the ICC Test rankings and are only now above Minnows Zimbabwe. And without a series win over a high-ranked side in 6 years, the series has taken on greater importance. West Indies' only series win last year came when they beat Zimbabwe 1-0 in a 2-test series in Bulawayo. Altogether, they won just 3 of their 10 outings, with 2 of those victories coming against Pakistan and England. Holder said every game of the Sri Lanka series counts for something, and he said any improvement in Wendy's results would only come when the team learns to be more consistent in its performance.
It's just a case for us, to string together more collective efforts, more often than not. I stress to the guys to do the small things over a longer period of time. We've done, good things over a short period of time, but it's just being a lot more consistent and going the duration in the game. We tend to fall and lose games in probably a session or a particular period in the game, and those are some of the things we just need to negate.
West Indies have never lost a series to Sri Lanka on home soil, winning 2 and drawing 1 of the 3 previous tours of the Caribbean. Following this series, the Windies host Bangladesh in a 2-test tour next month before heading to Dhaka for a return series and then on to India for another test series. Meanwhile, West Indies T20 captain Carlos Brathwaite is back in the regional women's team to score big when they host the T20 World Cup in November. Brathwaite, who was the hero of the 2016 T20 World Cup final in India, powering the men's side to their 2nd crown, says the Women's World T20 will be a big deal and he expects the women to come through for the Caribbean. He says there are some real-life legends in the squad that young girls can look up to, and he singled out Stephanie Taylor, Anisa Mohammed and Deandra Doughton. The ICC Women's World T20 will be played from November 7th to 24th at the Guyana National Stadium, the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia and the Vivian Richards Ground in Antigua. The semi-finals and final will be staged at the Vivian Richards Cricket Ground, and Brathwaite says he expects the event to help drive the development of the women's game in the region. He says, and I quote, "Our girls will be playing closer to home, actually at home, and they will be visible We also have a number of players coming from the other teams who will make an impact on the tournament, and it will be great to see them up close as well. It will do wonders for cricket in the West Indies, and I know a lot of young girls in the West Indies will pick up the game because of it. End of quote. The showpiece is the first standalone ICC Women's World T20 tournament, and all matches will be broadcast live to the global audience for the first time. The Grenada government is rewarding several sportsmen and women for their achievements in athletics and cricket with cash and land and official passports. Sports Minister Nolan Cox made the announcement during a post-cabinet briefing on Tuesday, which was attended by one of the awardees, Commonwealth Games gold medalist Lyndon Victor. The others are athletes Kurt Felix and Anderson Peters, and West Indies cricketers Afi Fletcher, Akira Peters and Emmanuel Stewart. They're all getting official passports. In addition, Victor receives a parcel of land and 25,000 EC dollars. Felix gets 10,000 EC dollars. Fletcher is being given 20,000 EC dollars, and Stewart will get assistance with paying his tuition at the Barbados Community College.
We believe that these awards and recognitions is fitting, and we believe that it is important that we send a message to our young sporting personnel that you are going to be rewarded for your achievements, and we believe that this will help motivate them and for them to perform better going forward.
Victor, who received his check on Tuesday, expressed gratitude for the recognition on behalf of all the athletes.
Anytime, no matter who it is, recognize your hard work. Every athlete just wants to be recognized, you know. I mean, not everybody's going to win a gold medal, but just a little recognition goes a long way. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the athletes that received something today. And I can personally say that this is just the beginning. I think that Grenada has a lot of talent, and we're gonna win a lot more gold medals. And if they know that these incentives are in place to when you win or when you make contribution to your island, I think, you know, the sports is going to, and culture is going to really develop in Grenada.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
It starts from sunrise, a city filled with an island vibe, music, people, color, friendship, culture, and the warmest of smiles. Come enjoy the unique costumes, pulsating steel pans, exotic culture, exciting fetes, and unforgettable people. Discover Antigua's Carnival, the Caribbean's greatest summer festival, July 27th to August 8th, because the beach really is just the beginning.
Again, the major developments of this day: Bermuda's Supreme Court rules in favor of making same-sex marriage legal in the island again. And in sport, West Indies end day one of their opening test against Sri Lanka on 246 for 6. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to KanaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching, and do have yourselves a good night.